Part 5. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 42. Liu-Yin took Aika and walked for more than 10 minutes before reaching the final destination. From the outside, it looks like a two-story building similar to the house where Aika lives temporarily. Is this Professor Kokina's laboratory? Well, you can't tell the research room of Frost Moon Academy from the outside, but it's actually very powerful inside. On the way here, Liu-Yin briefly introduced Professor Kokina to Aika, who was about to meet. According to Liu-Yin, Professor Kokina is not very outstanding in magic. Magical mechanics, which plays a central role in the reconstruction of the empire, belongs to her field. The so-called magic mechanics is to merge magic and machinery to achieve the effect of 1+1/U003E2. This subject requires mastering both the theoretical foundations of magic and all knowledge of mechanics, so magic mechanics is the most difficult to master among all subjects. Most of the courses for first-year students are related to the control and application of magic. Shimizuki Academy also has specialized courses in various fields. Specialized courses are usually chosen at the beginning of the second grade. Passing the assessment before the end of the third grade is one of the conditions for graduation. Every semester, the number of students majoring in magic mechanics is the smallest, and the pass rate is even lower. Professor Kokina is the person who stands at the highest point in this field. The essence of magic machinery is engineering design. Currently, 70% of the design drawings of magic machinery in the empire are from the hands of Professor Kokina. Aika's excitement at the thought of meeting this legendary figure soon was self-evident. You wait outside for a moment. I will open the door for you when you can come in. However, before Aika could question, Liu-Yin locked him alone outside the door of the research room. Research room. The lobby is so tidy that there are almost no traces of life. The trash can next to the kitchen counter is filled with bottles of nutritional drinks that have accumulated for some time. At least it's better than piling all the bottles in the sink on the kitchen counter before. This is what Liu-Yin thought at the moment as his eyes swept across the pool. She walked straight to the room on the right, opened the door and walked in without knocking. The room is a completely different world than the lobby. The wardrobe in the corner did not perform the task it was supposed to perform at all. There were all kinds of clothes scattered on the floor, mixed with mature outfits that were completely incompatible with the owner of the room. The pink sheets were already occupied by picture books and notebooks, and there were several unopened bottles of nutritional drinks beside the bed. On the desk in front of the window, a long piece of fabric hangs from a brand new sewing machine. This guy ordered some messy things again. This is the real reason why Liu-Yin doesn't want Aika to come in. Although Aika will gradually get to know and understand Kokina in their future interactions, this is their first meeting, and Liu-Yin cannot bear to leave such a deep impression on him. She lay on the bed among the books and found the pen that Kokina often used. Insert the tail of the pen into the small hole on the inside of the desk drawer and turn it slowly until the groove of the pen tail matches the convex groove in the hole. Next time, let Aika find a chance to dismantle this troublesome and useless mechanism. Liu-Yin threw the pen back on the bed and returned to the hall. The ceiling had slid open silently, and the stairs leading to the second floor extended from it to the ground. Climbing up the stairs to the second floor, I successfully found the genius professor who was lying on the ground and drawing something. A large amount of fair skin was exposed under the white shirt. It seemed that she was wearing nothing but this dress. Oh, Xiaoan, you came up so slowly. Thank you for your hard work cleaning the room. Without turning around to confirm who it was, Kokina continued to do her thing while lying on the ground with her feet raised. No one will help you clean up. Give you 5 minutes to get dressed. The guy I told you about before is already waiting at the door. Don't open the bedroom door until he goes back. Also, don't scream like Xiao 11. What does it matter? Don't we already have that kind of relationship? That kind of relationship only exists in your fantasy. If you say this again next time and it's easy for Xiao 11 to misunderstand, you will be 14 forever. I'm so jealous of Xiao 11. Cut the nonsense. While Aika was killing time looking at the sunset that was almost sinking into the horizon, Liu Yan finally walked out of the research room. Why did you suddenly become coy? He is obviously not an innocent child like Xiao 11. Anyway, in your heart, I just can't compare to Xiao 11. She walked out from behind Liu Yan. I never said that, right? Okay, okay, I am the coconut who is not as cute as Xiao 11, and not as capable as Xiao 11. Deliberately ignoring Liu Yan's excuse, Coconut turned to Aika, who was looking at the crosstalk between the two without knowing why. So, don't like Xiaoyun, look for the shadow of Xiao 11 in me. Wearing a knee-length skirt full of lace and ruffles, two slender pink ponytails swaying slightly under a small hat, she is slightly taller than Liu Yan, and the legendary genius girl has a wicked smile. Met Aika. After leaving Professor Coconut's laboratory, Aika originally wanted to invite Liu Yan to go back to the administrator's cabin and meet the three girls, but she declined politely. She obviously hopes to see Wei 11 again, but Aika doesn't know why Liu Yan refuses the invitation. But now that she had made her opinion clear, Aika didn't insist on it. Accompanying Liu Yan to the station, he happened to see the back of the train that had just left. There was still half an hour before the next train, and night had already come. The lights on the platform cast a faint light. At this time, there was no one else here except Aika and Liu Yan. He sent a text message, "Be back in half an hour," to Luoluo's PDA. Liu Yan pressed her knee-length skirt and sat down on the bench on the platform. The street lights extending along the track flickered like fireflies. In the summer night sky, the stars are shining brightly. The small platform seems to be isolated from the world. The silver-haired girl swayed her dangling legs slightly to the sound of insects in the grass. "Aren't you going back yet?" The words she spoke softly seemed so natural. Staying alone in such a space seems to be a normal thing for her. "I told them they would go back later." Aika separated a short distance from Liu Yan and sat next to her. Liu Yan looked at him for a moment, then looked away and looked at the vast night sky again. "Yeah. In this way, it is very pleasant to let time flow quietly. In a world where only two people exist, you just need to feel it quietly." Later, because it was too late to get home, Aika was forced by Ling to ask him what happened from the time he received the broadcast at noon until the evening. Aika deliberately concealed what happened when she was alone with Liu Yan, and only told everyone what happened between her and Professor Coconut. Back in his room, Aika sat down at the desk. "Through the open window in front of me, the starry sky is still there, but now I am the only one enjoying it." She should have returned to her room by now, right? Will he be like me, savoring boring sentimentality? Aika scratched her hair and cleared her mind. This night sky is not to be played with, it is not sentimental material, it is just a piece of beauty. What brought Aika back from his drifting thoughts was the familiar, cautious knock on the door. The person he wanted to discuss with was already obvious, and he probably had a premonition that she would come to find him. But this time, she wouldn't cry again. With this unfounded confidence, Aika opened the door. As expected, she stood in front of the door with her hands behind her back, with eyes that were evasive and full of expectation. "I have already thought about what I want to say, and the work is handed over. The final result does not depend on you, but on what actions the girl in front of you will take and what actions her best friend will take. The conditions have been prepared for them, and they will see it through responsibly." Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 43. The daily classes at Chiyu Academy are very easy for Ling and Wei 11. They have practiced controlling magic power since they were children, so they are naturally familiar with it. Aika and Luoluo can barely keep up with the progress of the course, but Luoluo's acceptance ability is obviously much better than that of his brother. In her spare time, Aika will visit Professor Kokina's research laboratory at the agreed time. General courses in the morning and afternoon cannot be skipped, and freshmen can only officially specialize in magic mechanics when they reach the second grade, so now he can only use his spare time to strengthen his abilities. Luoluo, Luoluo, this way. Several girls waved at the classroom door to Luoluo, who was about to say something to Aika. As time went by, Luoluo had become close to the girls in the class, so after receiving an invitation during lunchtime, she could only be separated from everyone for a while. How does it feel as a brother when your sister is taken away? Chiuke came over with his lunch box. She had already obtained Luoluo's consent before, so she put Luoluo's desk and Aika's desks together. Wei 11 spread the tablecloth decorated with cloud patterns that she bought from the business district on the tabletop made of 4 desks, and fixed the 4 corners well. The other parties are all girls, so it's nothing. If it were a boy, would you care? I will not limit my sister's life. But if Luoluo is not here, you will feel a little lonely, right? Where are Ling and Wei 11? If you are lonely, you will still be a little bit. Ling whispered back while curling her blonde hair with her fingers. Wei 11 just expressed her feelings like this. As he spoke, a faint sadness really spread in the small space. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have joked about this. Seeing the 3 people who were getting more and more depressed because of the topic he raised, Chiuke apologized with some embarrassment. No need to apologize, it's not Chiuke's fault. Aika opened her lunch box, which contained the rich dishes prepared by Luoluo in the morning. Like this, I feel like she is by my side. Don't say that. Luoluo seems to have gone somewhere far away. What do Luoluo and them usually talk about? Wei 11 tilted her head, while Ling spread her hands to show that she didn't know. The relationship between the 2 of them and those girls is also good, but they were not called this time, so they must have a complicated mood. Probably because they have something they need to confirm with Luoluo alone. Now that Chiuke said so, maybe that's true. As the monitor of the twin class, Chiuke is well aware of all major decisions and gossip about the class and even Chiyu Academy. Although he still looks unreliable at ordinary times, after spending such a long time together, everyone deeply felt that this monitor should not be underestimated. If it's something that must be confirmed with Luoluo, it probably has something to do with you. Ling glanced at Aika, who looked nothing like a blood relationship with the perfect girl like Luoluo. You finally made something that will be recognized by everyone. Is it a stupid thing to take collective revenge? How can it be? On the other hand, on the roof of the teaching building, the girls' secret conversation is going on. Luoluo, how's it going? How far has it gone? I've said it many times before, nothing really happened. Isn't it possible? The atmosphere between the 2 of you is obviously not an ordinary relationship. That's right. Surrounded by a group of girls who have awakened their gossip souls, Luoluo always sticks to his principles. That's your misunderstanding. My brother just needs me to be by his side to take care of him. What about Ling and Wei 11? Remember you said before that you met on the way here, right? Luoluo did not fully tell the truth, but simply explained their encounter with Ling and Wei 11, and deliberately concealed the various twists and turns they experienced. Fortunately, the girls who only cared about the complex relationship between the 4 people did not dwell on those details. As for Ling, I feel like there is still some distance between her and Aika based on her attitude. Yeah, I agree. As for Wei 11, she sticks to Aika just because of the paternal nature he exudes. One girl felt doubtful about the words she spoke. She put her finger to her lips and thought for a long time, but could not think of a more suitable adjective to replace fatherly. Fatherhood. Luoluo was shocked by what her friend said. She had never even noticed this kind of thing. So in summary, Luoluo, you have the best chance. No. I haven't thought about that kind of thing. No need to say more, We all understand. Yeah, well, Luo, we will definitely support you with all our strength. Blood relations and other things have long been an idea of the old times. Luo didn't know what to say anymore and could only smile vaguely. His eyes inadvertently glanced at the lunch box on his lap. Now, my brother should be enjoying the lunch he prepared. Just thinking about it, she felt a warmth in her heart. But what exactly is this feeling? Is it just a heart-to-heart connection and mutual dependence, or is it the emotion beyond that? Why did I suddenly think of this question? Probably they were brought into the rhythm. If you were a normal person, you would never be troubled by this kind of problem. Well, that's it. So, just be the Lolo you usually are. Yes, do you know? During the practical class yesterday, in order to take control of the topic, Luo took the lead in starting a new topic. After school, Aika walked alone in Shimizuki Academy. Professor Kokina needs to go back to the Holy See tonight. The three girls living together also have their own personal matters and left the classroom early after school. Speaking of which, the three of them seem to be discussing things in secret lately, and they often find excuses to leave early during free time like this. But they also went home well in the evening, and Ling was there, so there was no need for him to worry too much. Aika walked aimlessly along the main street of Shigetsu Academy, thinking that she would just go back in time for dinner. I had heard Way 11 say before that they had already visited the interior of Frost Moon Academy with the girls in their class. However, Aika had started intense after-school tutoring when she first entered school, so she no longer specifically spent time visiting Frost Moon Academy. Whenever he has free time, Aika would wander around the academy like this. Now he is basically familiar with the surface layout of Shigetsuki Academy. The reason why I say it is the superficial layout is because I heard some little-known secrets about Shimizuki Academy from Professor Kokina. If there is a chance, Aika plans to visit the so-called Lee Academy, but as an ordinary student now, he probably won't have the opportunity to come into contact with it. When he raised his head, the magnificent library located at the end of the main road came into Aika's sight. I've passed this place several times but never been inside. I don't know why I suddenly became interested in it today, and Aika walked towards the stairs leading to the big library. The axially symmetrical structure perfectly embodies a stable and rigorous atmosphere. In the reception hall, a thick tree trunk that looks very old stands in the center, and the registration desk is built around the trunk. The librarian who was supposed to be on duty at the registration desk is now nowhere to be seen, and it has been some time since school. There are not many students lingering in the large library, and unused desks are neatly arranged deep in the hall. Spiral staircases on both sides lead to the higher floors of the great library. Looking up, I roughly estimated that the large library of Shimizuki Academy was about 5 stories high. The elegant staircase should be just a decoration. Probably no one would leave the convenient lift platform unused and choose to climb slowly. Now that we've come this far, let's borrow a few books and go back and read them. Aika's PDA has been registered with the server of Shiyu Academy. As long as it is verified at the registration desk, it can freely borrow materials here, which is very convenient. Well, let me take a look. Magical mechanics. Aika found the floor where the required information was located on the navigation map. All the books had been sorted into categories, and it didn't take much time for Aika to find her target. This should be attributed to the serious work of the librarian. When you go back to register, you should say thank you to the other person. Having said that, the librarian doesn't know if he's back now, and he can't register if he's not back yet. With this in mind, Aika pressed the button for the elevator to the first floor. At this time, the reception hall was different from the previous tranquility. Aika heard the voices of several people arguing, which was particularly harsh in the empty hall. And one of the voices seemed familiar. He walked towards the registration desk where the sound of arguments came from, and the view obscured by the thick tree trunks gradually opened up. It seemed that a strong boy wanted to leave the library, and another girl stood in front of him regardless of her physical disadvantage. At this time, as long as you stand far away, the fire of the incident will not be drawn to yourself. But Ika had a reason why she couldn't just sit on the sidelines. Isn't it enough to just turn a blind eye? As long as there is a first time, there will definitely be a second time. I must do what a librarian should do. Don't be so rigid in your life. Can't you just deal with work and stuff? It seemed that the boy was not someone who resorted to violence casually. He was stopped at the exit just hoping to persuade the girl who was insisting on something. But the other party did not compromise easily, and the result was such a stalemate. The girl's shoulders were shaking slightly, and tears were already seeping out of the corners of her eyes. But she didn't lower her head to cover it up, she just glared at the boy in front of her from beginning to end. Probably because he thought it would be embarrassing if someone came in suddenly and saw the situation, the boy finally extended his hand impatiently. He probably just wanted to push the girl away, but the difference in physique between the two was difficult to grasp, and the girl was pushed to the ground. Ika couldn't help but intervene to stop the development of the situation. The boy's attack happened too suddenly. Although Ika could roughly guess the cause of the incident, the actual solution had not yet considered the feasibility. Now that I have stood up, I can only bite the bullet. Ika reached out and pulled up the girl who was pushed, and the other girl showed a surprised look. The look in her eyes showed that she still remembered herself. Ika returned her attention to the boy in front of her. "Senior, if you take books out of the library without registration, and the committee finds out, it will leave a black mark on your final grade point and affect your graduation." There was a cold sweat on his back, and Ika didn't know if such bravado would work on him. Judging from the uniform, the other party is a third-year student, so even a first-year transfer student will not leave much of an impression on them. He should not recognize himself. Moreover, if it is a repeat offender, the method will not be so gentle. Ika could tell he was on the verge of wavering. At this time, all you need to do is push him behind his back. Tisk. I don't know if the threat of affecting graduation was too powerful for the third-year students. The boy reluctantly threw the materials that exceeded his borrowing permission on the registration table and left the big library angrily. It wasn't until his back completely disappeared that Ika felt his whole body go limp, and the back of his uniform was soaked with sweat. That. The girl who was protected behind him said softly, "Thank you for coming to help." "Senior. I'm sorry last time, I ran away without properly apologizing to you." They collided at the door of the principal's office. Although their eyes only met for a few seconds, both sides remembered each other's faces. She lowered her head deeply, and the pale yellow ribbon tied to her short purple shoulder-length hair also hung down. It didn't matter what happened at that time, and the senior also apologized properly at that time. But it was so out of control at the time. "Are these books important?" Ika organized the books that the boy had thrown carelessly at the registration desk and handed them to the senior's sister. She took the folded book and held it against her chest. "I don't know all the books here, but there is a rule that books starting from the 4th floor cannot be borrowed. That person doesn't seem to know about this rule." "I see. I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce myself." The senior girl tucked her hair behind her ears slightly. "I am Lilith from the 2nd year maiden class, and I am also the librarian of this big library." Her smile was as warm as spring rain. "You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 44. Have you decided so quickly? The night after returning from the Grand Library, when Ika told everyone about her decision to work part-time in the Grand Library, she received an unexpected reaction. You obviously told me about the part-time job, but you haven't thought about it yet. After all, I don't know which job is suitable for me. If I make a hasty decision, I will regret it later. Ling had previously said that she was interested in the discipline team that maintains order in Chiyu Academy, but she has not yet submitted her application. Luo and Wei 11 are in a similar situation. Anyway, this is my decision for the time being. What should I do with Professor Kokina? Is there enough time? Ika's decision was expected by Luo, so he wasn't too surprised when he found out. The librarians in the big library work in shifts and they close at dusk. Generally speaking, it's relatively relaxed. This information was all obtained from senior sister Lilith. I want to work as a waiter at the Academy restaurant Moonlight Bath. The uniforms there are very cute. Wei 11 expressed her thoughts a little shyly. Do you still have uniforms for Moonlight Bath? My brother has been there many times, right? Many of the seniors there chose moonbathing jobs because of the cute uniforms, and the salary seems to be very high. Luo calmly explained on behalf of the embarrassed Wei 11. Then, she remembered something again. Speaking of which, the discipline team seems to be very busy today. I heard that a loophole was found in the barrier of Shimizuki Academy. Although we don't know if any monsters have broken into Shimizuki Academy yet, but if we leave it alone, there will be more serious consequence. Is this why Professor Kokina returned to the Holy See? Before Professor Kokina left, she told Ika that the things in the laboratory could be used as she pleased. Although it can be used casually, Ika basically does not know how to use those complicated instruments. Only Professor Kokina's abandoned design sketches can be carefully studied, but most of them cannot be understood because Professor Kokina cannot mark the sketches. Focus. It seems like this, Xiaoan is also in the Holy See now. Have you always been in contact with Liuyin? Well, every night she talks to me for a while. Wei 11 stroked the PDA in her hand. Now that the two cannot meet each other, this small machine has become a bridge to maintain the connection between them. Ika, do you know where to register for part-time application? Well, indeed, I didn't think about it at all before mentioning this issue. Now that I have decided, it is better to apply as soon as possible. The number of part-time jobs is also limited. Let's ask Chiuke tomorrow. Today I seem to see Chiuke walking behind the teaching building with the people from the discipline team. After being reminded by Ling, Ika remembered that Chiu was absent from the afternoon practical class. I asked Chiuke about part-time jobs before. I remember at that time, she said she didn't want to do any troublesome work. Well, Mr. Monitor, you are getting more and more unpredictable. Chiuke has a mysterious feeling. Luo nodded in agreement. Obviously he is only a first-year student, but he knows a lot of things, and he seems to have supporters. Supporter? Brother, haven't you heard? Chiuke has an exclusive support group in Chuanjiu Academy, but she doesn't seem to know it yet. Why do you know it better than she does? Don't underestimate the information network between girls. Then the next day, Chiuke, the central figure in the topic, showed an even more unexpected side. Originally, everyone was already preparing for the theory class in the classroom, but suddenly they received an announcement to gather in the central square. Ika moved slowly with the flow of people, and the classmates around her told herself that this was an assembly hosted by the student union. Generally speaking, students are rarely called together outside of regular gatherings, and everyone speculates whether something important has happened. Speaking of important events, the only thing Ika could think of was the barrier loophole that Wei 11 mentioned last night. However, before the matter is determined, spreading information casually will often have unimaginable consequences. Ika sat down in the empty seat in the back row, and it happened that Wei 11 and Ika also found this seat. She got separated from Ling and Luo in the crowd at the entrance. Ika found the other two people in the front row seats, and they were surrounded by other girls in the same class. Luoluo and Ling were also standing there, looking around, looking for the figure of Wei 11 who was traveling with them. Ika in the back row stood up and waved to them, finally catching their attention. After knowing that Wei 11 was also beside Ika, they sat down with peace of mind. Speaking of which, Wei 11. Are you not getting along well with your classmates? Although I don't want to touch on this topic, if no one takes the initiative to bring it up, the status quo will remain. Libra needs to be the first to break the balance on one side before it tilts. Everyone is very friendly to me. Then why? I'm not suitable to be in their circle. Wei 11's statement made Ika find the root of the problem. Although she is still a young child, she has the status of a Knight of the Holy See and has the same status as Liu Yin. Regardless of whether there is the word former in front of this identity, she is still a special existence. This awareness has taken root in the hearts and minds of those around us. I can understand your mood. Because of your special status, people around you may intentionally or unintentionally keep a distance from you. This is normal. After hearing Ika point out the facts directly, Wei 11 couldn't help but feel even more frustrated. However, as a party involved, if you don't take the initiative to communicate at this time, it will only make the misunderstanding deeper, right? Ika's words are correct and irrefutable. Although Wei 11 is still young, it does not mean that she is as childish on the inside as she looks on the outside. In the years she spent in the Holy See, whether she wanted to or not, Wei 11 had seen a lot and experienced a lot. Sometimes she knows the thoughts of the people around her more clearly than Ika does. But knowledge is only one aspect, and she is not mature enough to decide her own actions based on it. Escape is an easy behavior. You don't need to worry about making this decision, not even for a few seconds. As compensation, you will get candy called excuses. Together, any uneasiness will disappear without a trace. Leave no trace. This illusory stability is indeed pursued by many people. If you can't let go of those boring stereotypes, others won't be able to take the initiative to understand the real you. For Wei 11, it seemed that it was too much. Ika chose this way of expression on the premise that she believed Wei 11 could understand. If it were just gentle persuasion, Wei 11 would regard herself as a safe haven. That makes no sense. Brother Ika. Wei 11's voice was choked. Can I do it? Her eyes moistened by tears were staring at herself tightly, and her hands were tightly grasping the hem of her skirt. Well, I will always be watching you from behind. Even if it still doesn't go well, you still have a place where you can come back at any time. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 45. You are finally the only one left here. Ika raised her head and saw a familiar guy sitting in Wei 11's seat. Why did you come to such a deserted place? Ika muttered angrily to the person approaching. If you talk about the boy in the twin class who is closest to Ika, everyone will think of Carlo. Why did this person with the unique demeanor of the God clan, who was like a noble son, develop such a relationship with me now? He is obviously in a superior condition, and he is the kind of person who shines brightly when looking at the academy. What does it matter? Carlo shrugged with a cynical expression. By the way, Wei 11 was made to cry by you just now, but I saw it all. Please don't always look in our direction. Even if you see something, don't say it out loud. Ika ignored the pestering Carlo, and his attention was always on the pure white back in the front row. Because he promised her that he would always witness her efforts. Although Wei 11 was still timid when she first approached, the girls in her class accepted her immediately. Now, Wei 11 has completely integrated into the circle in the front row, and there should be no need to worry anymore. After feeling relieved, Ika turned his attention back to Carlo. You know what this rally is going to be about? Of course I don't know. Although Carlo spoke confidently, Ika felt the lie in his eyes. This skill of observing words and emotions was something I learned from Shun in the past, but I didn't expect that it would actually be useful one day. Oh, is it so? Now that he said that, there was no need for him to get to the bottom of it. Everyone has their own secrets, and only by maintaining the boundaries between each other can we continue to interact normally. The central square gradually became quiet, and several people were already standing on the high platform opposite. Luoluo noticed that the lively atmosphere in the venue had cooled down, and his eyes naturally moved to the high platform on the opposite side where the speaker was sitting. Could that person in the middle be? The girl in the middle, surrounded by several senior students, was the friend who was chatting with everyone in the classroom yesterday. Chiuke is the student council president, don't you know? No, 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 you haven't mentioned it at all. Luoluo waved his hand as if to say, are you kidding me? What's up with that red guy? Ling, your eyes suddenly become so scary. The classmates around him trembled in fright at Ling's sudden change of tone. Are you referring to Tailua-senpai? She is the vice president of the student union. Besides, Sister Tairua is also the leader of the discipline team, she is so handsome. Ling didn't expect to meet Tairua again on such an occasion, and she was not only the senior sister of Shiyu Academy, but also the vice president of the student union and the leader of the discipline group she wanted to join. For a moment, no words came out of Ling's dry throat. After a long time. Whatever happens to her has nothing to do with me. Although I don't know what happened between you and Senior Tairua. The girl on the side asked cautiously, then will you still go to the discipline team? Of course I'll go. That being said, this is just because for Ling, there is no other answer. If he said he gave up joining the discipline team in this situation, it would be like he was avoiding Tairua. Never look like that. Chiuke coughed lightly in order to test the loudspeaker. Taking this as a signal, everyone's attention shifted to the high platform. Well, anyway, good morning everyone. Good morning, President. Good morning, Xiao Kaiuk. President. President. The entire venue instantly responded to Chiuke's silly opening remarks with a boiling volume. Well, I'm sorry for calling everyone here so early. There is something very important that I must let everyone know right away. Shimoyu Academy is surrounded by primeval forests on 3 sides. In order to prevent dangerous monsters from breaking in, the academy has always been protected by barriers, but... Chiuke paused, and the venue remained silent, waiting for her next step. In the words, for unknown reasons, the device that maintains the barrier stopped operating. Although the instructors began to repair it immediately, it is expected to take about a week to repair. During this period, there is no guarantee that individual monsters will not get into this neutral. Our ethics team will strengthen inspections of Shimizuki Academy during this period. Tairua on the side took over Chiuke's words. Part of the restrictions in Shimizuki Academy will be activated during this period. Ordinary students are grouped into groups of 3 to 4. We should carry out daily activities in groups, try not to be alone, and allow the use of magic in the academy when threats are found. Of course, it is forbidden to use magic for improper reasons. I believe everyone should be very clear, so I will not repeat it here. Ling listened blankly to Tairuya's heroic speech. At this moment, she even forgot about her discord with Tilyuya. Here, she saw a completely different side of Tairuya than she had in her impression. Sister Ling. Wei 11 looked at Ling with a complicated expression in confusion. It was impossible for her to understand how Ling was feeling now. If you don't care about anyone particularly, the impact will not be so great. The whole meeting was just to convey this one thing, and it broke up after a short time. As a result, classes this week have been cancelled and changed to free activities. Needless to say, there is no need to say much about the candidates for Ika's team. They have already made a tacit decision among themselves. Later, Ika received part-time applications for 4 people from instructor Letica. Although safety issues were emphasized many times at the rally, it is of course impossible for everyone to act together all day long. Ika made an agreement with them to contact them immediately via PDA when something happened, and then they separated in front of the teaching building. Where should we go next? The application form should also be submitted as soon as possible. It would be great if anyone knows how to fill in the above rules. Sure enough, I can only ask my seniors for advice. The number of people who came to the big library today was much more unexpected. It was clear that the meeting had just ended, and there was no empty space within sight of the reception hall. Probably because it is more suitable for students to gather together. Places with many people tend to create a feeling of peace of mind. Ika looked towards the registration desk, and there was a strange senior sitting there. Since senior sister Lilith is not here, there is no point in continuing to stay here. Just when Ika was about to turn around and leave, she bumped into someone coming from behind. Oops! The man who was knocked down let out a soft cry. Because he was completely unprepared, Ika staggered, and his body fell forward according to the inertia. Ika did not feel the hard touch of the ground, but the opposite softness, accompanied by the faint scent of purple orchids. He put his hands on the ground in time to avoid directly pressing on the opponent. Sorry. No, it's okay. I also have a responsibility, but can you please stand up first? Senior sister Lilith twisted her body under Ika with some embarrassment. Many people are looking here. The reddish cheeks turned to the side in embarrassment. Ika hurriedly moved away from her, and there was a burst of laughter from all around. If he just apologized and ran away, Lilith Senpai who was left behind would be even more embarrassed. So Ika could only put her shame behind her and reached out to her. Senior Lilith turned her gaze slightly, stood up with Ika's strength, adjusted her uniform casually, and then grabbed the overwhelmed Ika's hand. Follow me. Lilith Senpai said this in a voice that only Ika could hear. When Ika reacted, she had already been taken to the preparation room deep in the hall by senior sister Lilith. After closing the door, senior sister Lilith let go of the hand she had been holding tightly. It was obviously summer, but Ika miraculously felt no discomfort at all from the warmth remaining in her hands. Sorry, Ika-san, I brought you here on my own initiative. Originally, the responsibility lies with me, and I made you worry about it, senior sister. Anyway, let's take a rest here first. If we go out now, we will become a topic of conversation. Senior Lilith sat down at the table in the preparation room. She tapped the table lightly and motioned for Ika to sit down as well. Excuse me. Although it was somewhat different from the original plan, it fell into place in an inexplicable place. Senior Lilith, this. Ika took out the application form that had been folded up in her pocket and placed it in front of Lilith. This is, you want to be the librarian of the Great Library. Well, after thinking about it for a long time, I decided this way. That's it. When the two met for the first time in the big library, Lilith gave him a general introduction to the work of a librarian. Then why don't you try it first today? Lilith's smile seemed to have a special kind of magic. Ika felt so again. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 46. Brother, have you heard of the ghost lady in the courtyard? Are you talking about the rumor that started circulating recently? I heard it mentioned by classmates before. It is said that someone witnessed it a long time ago, but it was only talked about in a small circle. But now, isn't there a loophole in the barrier of Frost Moon Academy? So some people suspect that it is a monster that came in from outside the barrier. After dinner, Lulu and Ika mentioned this topic, and Ika, who didn't pay much attention to the rumors, also heard about it. The so-called ghost lady of the garden means that on unspecified nights, a ghost with a faint blue light will appear in the courtyard of Shichizuki Academy. Because of her slender body, she is mistakenly thought to be a woman. The courtyard of Shimizuki Academy is a small park in the school. It is built in various beautiful places in Shiyu Academy. It is usually used as the first choice place for gatherings or activities. Night courtyard plus ghost lady have become a good topic material. After the gathering some time ago, this rumor was spread with people's enthusiasm. Now there should be no one in Shimizuki Academy who doesn't know the story of Ghost Miss. However, it is said that no one has yet tried to find the ghost lady. There are countless mythical rumors about Frost Moon Academy, so no one would really think of finding out the truth. Even if it had happened, it would have failed in the end, otherwise the rumors would no longer be rumors but become facts. So, brother, let's go find Miss Ghost together. Luoluo clasped his hands behind his back and looked up at Aika with eyes full of expectation. But it would be dangerous to go out at this time. It's just this once, okay? If it fails, I'll never mention it again. Now that my sister, who would never take the initiative to ask for help, has said so, it's not impossible to do it once. Okay then, you have to be back before 10 o'clock, got it? Aika originally wanted to ask Shangling and Wei 11 to act together. With 4 people, the safety would be greatly increased. But causing trouble for his sister because of her willfulness is a situation he has always avoided. When Ling and Wei 11 went to take a bath, Aika left a message for them and left the administrator's cabin with Luoluo. When was the last time you and Lolo took a walk alone at night? I remember it was a few months ago, when I just left home. Although there was a clear destination geographically, Aika was actually aimless and just moved towards the known direction with a casual attitude. Maybe that time was truly a time without worries. It was also from that time that the sense of responsibility as an older brother was officially born. Elder brother. Luoluo put his hands behind his back and took small steps as usual. No need to pay special attention, Aika naturally cooperated with her to slow down her pace. This tacit understanding is the accumulation of time. The bright summer moonlight filled the entire Shiyu Academy, surrounded by familiar vegetation and buildings. In this time where no one will disturb you, no matter what your mood is, you will eventually calm down. I guess Sister Ling may come out to find us after seeing the news. I deliberately added don't come to us at the end. So, brother. Luoluo sighed helplessly, it's because you said so that Sister Ling will come to you. Aika really couldn't understand this way of thinking. Although many people have said that I am slow and don't know how to consider other people's thoughts, and I didn't care at first, but if even my own sister, who is my other half, says so, then I really need to reflect on it. It shouldn't be possible to search the entire Frost Moon Academy in this little time. Do you have any plans on where to start looking for you? Well, let's start from the nearest place. Luoluo smiled and clapped his hands. It seems that she only has ideas but no plans at all. This is a bit different from the previous Lolo who was careful in all aspects. Considering the return trip, the range should be between the teaching building and the big library. Then I'll leave the guidance to you, and leave it to me to protect you with peace of mind. Brother, actually you just really want to say this kind of line once. I really want to protect your back. Well. Luoluo frankly accepted Aika's vow, then please protect me, brother. After saying that, she hugged Aika naturally and leaned against him gently. Luoluo's cheek was pressed against Aika's chest, and Aika would never be able to notice her happy smile at this moment. Image. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 47. Nothing out of the ordinary was found in the 4 nearest courtyards. However, one of the courtyards built along the river looked particularly elegant in the moonlight, and the two stayed there for a short while. An hour and a half has passed now, and it's almost time to go back. There is only a courtyard next to the big library. Are you still going there? Do you still have a little time? I want to take a look. Although I don't hold out any hope, there is nothing wrong with being cautious. When Aika and Luoluo approached the last courtyard, they slowed down and approached slowly. Luoluo followed Aika closely, grabbing his clothes slightly harder. Using the cover of the jungle, Aika cautiously explored forward. There is indeed something there. Although it is far away and cannot be seen clearly, there is something there. The whole body is surrounded by colorful glazed light bands, like a living creature, flowing slowly around it. The dazzling light made Aika unable to see clearly the body inside. Regardless of whether this kind of overall unknown existence can be captured, we don't even know whether humans can escape unscathed. Aika decisively took out the PDA and sent the coordinates of the two people to Ling and Wei 11's PDA. I originally wanted to pass the news to Chiuke, but when the identity of the other party is unknown, it is unwise to spread disturbing information at will. The opponent does not look as threatening as a ferocious beast. If Ling and Wei 11 arrive, it shouldn't be a big problem to repel it. However, Luoluo accidentally took a step back. The crisp sound of dry twigs being trampled was particularly harsh in this silent night. Oops. Aika quickly looked at Luoluo behind her, and immediately moved her eyes back to the opposite side after making sure she was okay. Sure enough, the people on the other side also noticed this, and the dazzling colorful light bands dissipated in the air. Under the pale moonlight, without the dazzling light bands, the main body in the center can be seen clearly. At this moment, the heavy stone in my heart fell. After knowing the truth, the previous nervousness was actually funny. The next moment, a different fear struck Aika's heart. Senior Lilith, watch your back. A high column of water rose from the river behind her. At the same time, a huge, deformed head appeared. At this distance, it would be impossible to save Senior Lilith without a miracle. Having made such a judgment, Aika directly raised the fiery eyes on the spot and pointed it in the direction of Senior Lilith. At this moment, Senior Sister Lilith did not react. She was still standing there at a loss, not knowing what kind of crisis was approaching behind her. Catch me up. While roaring to give himself a hint, the silver magic followed the trajectory and shot towards Senior Lilith at a speed that could not be seen. The magic power formed a barrier to protect Senior Lilith, and the next moment, a violent impact hit it. Ah! Senior Lilith let out a mournful cry. You are not allowed to move. Before flying toward the center of the smoke and dust, Aika conveyed her meaning to Luoluo concisely, and her words should be understood. The magic barrier turned into silver dust and scattered. Its mission has been completed brilliantly. Aika picked up Senior Lilith, who was lying on the ground, and kicked her left foot hard to the ground. Her magic-strengthened body used the strength to avoid the incoming attacks. The flying stones still scratched Aika's thigh, and the severe pain was transmitted along the nerves to the brain. She can no longer run, and Lilith Senpai doesn't seem to be the kind of girl with very good athletic ability. There was no time to wait for the rescue of Ling and Wei 11, because the ugly head supported by the long neck was already facing the two people sitting on the ground. The four ferocious eyes stared at the two people like prey, and the smelly heat spurted out from the huge blade-like teeth. Aika's mentality is not good enough to analyze calmly in this situation. In short, she can only do her best. Mechanical alchemy, trial production of 41 6-gun cannon. In response to his call, a torrent of silver magic power gathered in the space, and the entire space was lit up by the torrent of silver magic power. The monster instinctively retracted its head. The dazzling light quickly dissipated, and was replaced by a huge fort standing on the ground, with 6 silver-white parallel gun barrels shining with silver brilliance under the moonlight. It's impossible to miss such a big target even with your eyes closed. A silver torrent spurted out from the parallel cannon muzzle. The sword of light dispersed the sparse clouds in the night sky and penetrated the sky. The fort dissipated, revealing the body of the monster lying on the river bank with only the body below the neck remaining. That design drawing was one of the teaching materials that Professor Kokina left in the laboratory. The reason why it is named trial production is because we don't know whether it can function normally according to the theory. It actually succeeded. Ika-san, that's... Senior Lilith had no idea what was happening in front of her. That kind of weapon cannot be called magic at all, but something made out of nothing that violates the principle of equivalent substitution. Building that kind of weapon requires the cooperation of at least a dozen national magicians. Ika obviously does not have such qualifications. However, the look in Senior Lilith's eyes when she looked at Ika was not fear, only confusion. Elder brother. Hearing his sister's anxious call, Ika followed the sound and saw that Lugo was trotting over here, stumbling on the broken dirt and rocks on the ground. Behind her were two others. What the hell are you doing? Why do you only think of contacting me when you have a problem? Although she had mercilessly condemned her when they first met, her golden hair that was soaked in sweat and stuck to her cheeks revealed her sincerity without mercy. Wei 11's pure white long hair was also stained with a light dust, and the bangs that usually hung down were now pinned with cute hairpins, probably to make it easier to move. Panting heavily, she couldn't even say a word. Sorry. The apology that filled Ika's heart could only be expressed in this way. Luo knelt down next to Ika, took out her most cherished handkerchief and wiped the stains around the wound on his leg, and then activated her own healing magic. Although complete recovery is not yet possible, fracture reduction and wound healing can still be achieved. Soon after, multiple rays of light lit up the deserted courtyard. Are you guys okay? That's a note everyone is familiar with. Although Ling's expression became a little unnatural for a moment, it passed quickly. Oh my, I can hear the noise from your side in the dormitory. After the discipline group, the student union headed by Chiuke also came to the scene. By the way, what is that beam of light? It looks so powerful. President, let them go back and rest first till Yuya stopped the excited Chiuke, and then turned to several parties involved. Leave it to us to deal with it. We will come to you tomorrow to ask about the whole story of the incident. We will be here first today. Here it is. Everyone accepted the kindness of the seniors. Ling and Tairuya exchanged glances as they passed each other. Although Tairuya showed a somewhat surprised expression when he saw her presence at first, he immediately smiled at Ling. You're quite capable. Thank you very much. Is this the attitude towards seniors? Sorry. Ling dealt with Tairuya, who smiled bitterly as if it was troublesome. Do Xiaoyaya and Ling know each other? Well, a lot has happened after all. I want to listen. President, I'd better arrange the on-site work first, and I'll tell you when I get the chance. After Ika sent Senior Lilith to the girls' dormitory, she solemnly apologized to Ling and Wei 11 again on the way back. Luo also felt deeply remorseful for his willfulness. As punishment, Ika will treat them to 2 super luxurious parfaits from the school restaurant Moonlight Bath tomorrow. Later, due to Ling's additional request, it should be 3 people to be precise. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 48. The next day, it was already noon when the 4 people were released from the principal's office. The record of the entire incident was personally presided over by Principal Phyllis. Before going in, Wei 11 had told Ika that she could tell Principal Felice about the magic costume, because the other party had already learned the hidden secrets of the Kin's family from Liuyan. This may be the main reason why Principal Phyllis personally took over this troublesome matter. If it were the student council or the discipline team, Ika really didn't know how to explain the magic suit. With this accident, Shiyu Academy will naturally pay more attention to the problem of this barrier loophole and find a practical solution. In order to avoid unnecessary panic, Principal Phyllis suggested that the accident should not be made public, and access to the ruined courtyard was prohibited on the grounds of reconstruction. Senior Lilith was arranged to rest in an affiliated hospital in a neutral area. Thanks to Ika's efforts, Senior Lilith did not suffer any serious trauma, just a sprained calf. It's just that the mental damage is more serious than the physical damage. The four of Ika took the train and arrived at the affiliated hospital half an hour later. As its name suggests, this hospital is run by Shimizuki Academy. Compared with the medical conditions in Shimizuki Academy, this hospital is superior in every aspect. Of course, the cost of living here is far more than that of the Academy Infirmary. After all, it is one of the important sources of funds for Shiyu Academy. I learned from Principal Phyllis that the entire hospitalization fee will be borne by the Academy, which is reasonable. Under Way 11's guidance, everyone easily found Lilith's hospital building. After registering their PDAs at the reception window, the four people successfully took the elevator to the top floor. Although I haven't been to other floors, the 12th floor, located on the highest floor, should be the quietest. The snow-white corridor is filled with quiet air, and the golden sunlight blends in with the snow-white color through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The potted plants that can be seen everywhere make the place not feel solemn, but instead overflow with a relaxed atmosphere. Turning the corner, there is a bench in front of each ward. Since there was no one else in the corridor except her, she noticed it at a glance from a distance. Is that the person outside Senior Sister Lilith's ward? The young woman who noticed the conversation turned her head and looked towards Ika. Her chestnut-colored short hair swayed slightly, and she pushed up her round-framed glasses. Why is Sister Tara here? Way 11, who was deeply cared for by Tara, also looked puzzled. When Ika and the others came up to them, Tara showed the PDA in her hand before they asked. In addition to having the function of an intelligent communication tool, the PDA is also an intermediary that connects to the Shimizuki Academy server. The PDA login identities of tutors and professors are different from students and have higher permissions. Therefore, the information displayed on Tara's PDA has answered the primary question that Ika and the others wanted to raise. I am the tutor of the second-year maiden class. When I heard that you were transferring to Frost Moon Academy, I thought that I might meet you recently, but I didn't expect that. The current development seemed to be beyond Tara's expectations. Unexpectedly, if you are here to visit classmate Lilith, I suggest you wait before going in. Why? Well, her family is inside now, and it's for this reason that I'm waiting outside. Teacher Tara, you are Senior Lilith's mentor. I think you should know. Ika thought for a moment before speaking. Does Lilith's family have any special background? Why do you think so? Because. He scratched his head in embarrassment. When we were dating, every time we talked about her family, Senior Sister Lilith deliberately avoided the topic. It seems that you have been dating for a long time. Ling's indifferent voice came from behind Ika. Yesterday you said that you only get together when you work part-time. It's only when I'm working part-time that I have time to chat. Well. Tara seemed to know something, but she did not tell Ika in the end. If you have any questions, it would be fastest to ask her directly. Since Tara has gone in such a roundabout way, there must be a reason why it is inconvenient for her to say it. At this time, the door of the ward opened, and a young woman who looked about 20 years old walked out of the ward. Tara also said just now that Senior Lilith's family is in the ward now, so is this her sister? I don't know what happened in the ward. Her face looked a little haggard, but it did not overshadow her beautiful appearance. Tara walked up and whispered something to the woman, and her eyes turned in Ika's direction. It wasn't until he met her eyes that Ika noticed the hidden sharpness in her eyes, which was a symbol of maturity that had been in the world for a long time. The woman walked straight towards Ika, keeping her eyes on Ika. Ika felt as if a sharp spear was aimed at her heart, and she couldn't even escape. She thought she would be blamed for causing Lilith-senpai to get hurt, but instead she bowed deeply to Ika and the others. I am Lilith's mother. I have learned the whole story from Shiyu Academy. Thank you very much for saving Lilith. She is, Senior Lilith's mother? You can't tell your age from your appearance at all. But that doesn't matter, because the current situation is more overwhelming than that fact. If you have time, can you please come to my house and let me entertain you? Although it is insignificant. Aika wanted to shake her head and refuse, but Tara behind the woman nodded desperately. Although she didn't know why she wanted Aika to agree so much, Aika still decided to listen to her opinion. If it's not too much trouble, I will definitely visit your mansion when I have time. Aika also followed the example of a woman and bowed politely. Formal exchanges like this were rare, and Aika was trying very hard not to bite her tongue. Ms. Elise, let's go outside and chat first. Just leave it to them here. My daughter is in your hands. The woman known as Lady Elise bowed to the four of them again, and everyone quickly followed suit and returned the bow. Before leaving, Tara made a cheering gesture to Aika from an angle invisible to Ms. Elise. Senior Lilith was half lying on the hospital bed, covered with a snow-white sheet, facing the window. Ah, Aika-san. Noticing the sound of the door being pushed, and turning her head to see the person coming, she hurriedly raised the cuffs of her hospital uniform and wiped her eyes. This little movement couldn't get rid of the redness at the corners of her eyes. And classmates Ling, Luoluo, and Wei 11, thank you for coming to see me. Despite this, she smiled as warmly as ever. There is an elegant small vase on the windowsill, with 2 bouquets of purple orchids exuding their fragrant scent. Speaking of which, Lilith Senpai also has the faint fragrance of purple orchids. Aika remembered the day when she knocked down Lilith Senpai. Senior Lilith. Luoluo should have also noticed something unusual about Senior Lilith. She seemed to want to speak, but she looked at Aika at a loss, probably hoping that her brother could ask on her behalf. But Aika did not do what Luoluo thought. Senior Lilith, are you feeling well? Well, the doctor said that as long as you stay here for a few days of observation, you can be discharged. That's great. As soon as I heard that Lilith Senpai you were taken to the hospital this morning, Aika-san was ready to rush over without even eating. Ling smiled and patted Aika on the shoulder. Even when faced with a senior whom she had just known for less than a day, Ling still had her own way of doing things. But it's done in just the right way without making people feel offended. This is exactly the social ability that Ling shows intentionally or unintentionally without noticing it at ordinary times. Really, thank you, everyone. It was inconvenient for Senior Lilith to get off the hospital bed, so she just bowed her head slightly in greeting. Aika, who was exposed by Ling, blushed and did not prepare to retort to cover up her shame. He had indeed been worried about Senior Lilith who was in the hospital. If I hadn't become stronger, I might not be able to see Senior Lilith smile now, but because I wasn't strong enough, Senior Lilith was still hurt. Suppressing the negative thoughts, Aika changed the topic. He naturally understood Luoluo's hint, but he had no intention of raising that question now. Since Lilith Senpai wants to cover it up with a thin layer of paper, respecting her shouldn't pierce it. Even though this layer of tissue paper is almost transparent, for Senior Lilith, it must have an irreplaceable meaning. Before the night gradually turned the window into darkness, the 4 of them said goodbye to Senior Sister Lilith. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 49. It's rare that I'm in the mood to ask you out. Have you done your homework beforehand? No. I know it without asking. Don't worry, I won't be angry over such a trivial matter. Ling turned her head and looked out the train window. Although she said this, and her tone was as calm as ever, the side face she specially left for Aika conveyed her mood at the moment very well. Because I have never left the academy before, and I have no experience of going shopping with others, so there is nothing I can do about it. Has it never happened before? When I was in Pufa town and the imperial capital, I went out with you every time. When Luoluo and Wei 11 were there, I just helped carry the luggage. So, is this your first time hanging out with a girl other than Luoluo? Didn't I say that from the beginning? Humph. Ling finally looked away from the car window. That's really something that can't be helped. She read quietly. Forgive you. Aren't you angry? Then Ling glared hard at her, and she looked out the window again with her chin raised. The cause of the matter should be traced back to last night, when Luoluo and Wei 11 visited Ika's room without telling Ling. Why didn't you talk about such an important thing earlier? Luoluo quickly covered her brother's mouth. Don't let Sister Ling hear it. Actually, Sister Ling didn't let us say. Wei 11 added from the side. Why? Probably because we have just settled down and there are still many problems that have not been resolved. Judging from Sister Ling's character, she must not want us to worry about her. Of course, this is just Luoluo's personal opinion, and... She hesitated to speak. Is there any other reason? Well... Luoluo obviously seemed to have thought of something, but she still deliberately kept silent. Anyway, brother, please stay with Sister Ling all day long tomorrow. But we have never asked Ling if he is willing. It does not matter. Xiao 11. Luoluo hurriedly interrupted Wei 11's words. Wei 11 showed a confused expression at first, and then immediately turned into a panicked expression as if she understood. That. Brother, don't worry, just remember this matter. Luoluo pushed Wei 11 out of Ika's room without any explanation. Be sure not to oversleep tomorrow. Before closing the door, Luoluo gave a special warning. An hour later, Ling knocked on the door of Ika's room. Go out with me tomorrow. With that said, she closed the door behind her back, but did not take another step into the house. Ling, who had her hands behind her back, stared at her feet and pressed the toes of her shoes against the floor in seeming boredom. Well, when are you leaving? Even if you make excuses not to go. Ling suddenly reacted, her slightly red cheeks showing up unprepared. Why did you agree so readily? I don't have any other plans for tomorrow anyway. That's it? Ling coughed slightly and readjusted her mood. Then don't forget it, that's it? Not intending to wait for Ika's reply, Ling hurriedly left with her head lowered. In this way, Ika and Ling would be sitting on the train heading to the neutral area business district like this. Don't let Sister Ling notice that you already know that today is her birthday. You must pretend to be unaware. Before going out in the morning, Luoluo quietly told herself this. The train gradually slowed down, and the arrival announcement sounded in the car. The two of them followed the flow of people getting off the bus and entered the platform of the business district. The last time I took the train from the port directly to Shiyu Academy, it only stopped for a moment at the platform in the business district. At that time, Ika didn't pay attention to the scenery outside the window. I came here with Luoluo and Wei 11 before. I just bought some daily necessities and then went back. Ling quietly glanced at Ika, then immediately looked back. I thought you had already walked around here. It seems I can't ask you to lead the way. You actually still have such low ambition expectations. This is an appointment. Ling almost couldn't help throwing the bag in Ika's face. Forget it, even though I know you are, I won't say it. But this is just right. The two of us can just treat it as our first time here and take a stroll around. Two people. Isn't it? That's right. Ling suddenly muttered and started walking forward in small steps, and his steps were getting faster and faster. Hey, wait for me. Ah, I'm sorry. Ling, who was stopped by Ika, stopped in a hurry and turned her head to look at him who was chasing him. Ling's smile, at this moment, was deeply imprinted in Ika's heart. Realizing that he was fascinated by the smile she showed unconsciously, Ika quickly hid her smile deeper in her heart, regrouped her mentality, and caught up with the girl who was waiting for her from afar. Comparing the difference between the commercial district in the busy empire capital and the neutral area, The biggest difference is that the latter blends the cultures of various countries and races. Wandering there, feeling the leisure atmosphere, you have the illusion of being in another country. This time, Ling did not keep a distance from Ika, and the two of them moved side by side along the flow of people. She would stop and admire the stalls she was interested in, and occasionally chat with the shopkeepers. This should be. Every shopkeeper will pay attention to Ika next to Ling, and then tease the relationship between them, and Ling will be the first to respond. This guy is my friend, just a classmate. Fooled over like this. Ika thought boredly while waiting. Apart from being a friend and classmate, does he have any other meaning to Ling? People living together? That seems to be the case, but that's all. Although Ling is very excited when shopping, she basically doesn't use money to buy things. The proof is that it's almost noon, and Ika is still empty-handed. Ika put his hands in his pockets and tried his best to respond to the topics Ling threw at him, but he still couldn't keep up with the girl. Whenever this happens, Ling will puff up her cheeks and look dissatisfied, and then she will immediately see something new and say this and that to Ika. At lunchtime, Ika didn't know which shop around was more suitable. So after struggling for a long time, Ling directly pulled him into the restaurant closest to him. Is it really okay here? You have the nerve to ask? Isn't it just because you were hesitant that I helped you? Sorry, it would be nice if you knew something about this place before coming here. After all, it's because I brought it up to you last night. I also have the responsibility. But it's pretty nice here. Ika looked around the store. Different from the family restaurant like Chukai's, the atmosphere here is more elegant. Melodious music is playing in the store, and the second floor has a similar layout to the first floor we just passed. Ling chose a seat near the window. Because we have lived in the caretaker's cabin for a long time, everyone seems to be accustomed to sitting at the table by the window. Thinking of this subtle common ground, Ika couldn't help but chuckle. Ling looked at Ika, who suddenly laughed with a puzzled expression. What are you laughing at? It's so disgusting. No, Ika took a deep breath to calm down. I was just thinking that we have lived together for a long time. Hello. There were constant glances from around him, and Ika noticed the mistake in his expression. In the eyes of people around them, Ika and Ling are both students of Shiyu Academy. They lived together when they were students. You too. The male clerk who originally walked towards them became very embarrassed because of this, and ran away in a hurry after the two of them stuttered and placed their orders. I said. You shut up. Afterwards, the two spent a special lunchtime under the teasing gaze of the surrounding people. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 50. Ika has an unanswerable question: why are there far more shops serving women than men? For example, women's clothing stores can be found everywhere, but men's clothing stores are rare. For another example, the jewelry store in front of you already has a girlish atmosphere from the outside window. Want to go in and have a look? Just look outside. She said this, but Ling's expression betrayed her sincerity. There is obviously no need to worry so much. Hey, what are you doing? If I weren't with you in this kind of store, I wouldn't be embarrassed to go in. Ika took Ling's hand and walked towards the store on her own initiative. Let me take advantage of this opportunity. Ling resisted a little at first, trying to shake off Ika's hand, but to no avail. Humph, then I will be merciful and give you this opportunity. Obviously this guy's athletic ability is not as good as mine, so why can't he break free from his hand? The power gap between boys and girls is innate, right? If you are caught like this, there is nothing you can do. As a way to vent his anger, Ling also increased the strength in his hands and hit Ika hard in return. The store also has a sweet feeling, with a variety of small commodities seemingly casually displayed at various counters in the store. It does not adopt the standard layout of ordinary stores, perhaps to reflect the characteristics of the store. This kind of seemingly irregular arrangement provides guests with a lot of freedom. It's obvious that he said he wanted to come in, but it's not good to act like he's not interested. Ika thought this way, but found that Ling was also accompanying Ika, looking at the small products in the store with great interest. At this moment, Ika finally discovered another problem that she had not realized in the past: she did not understand aesthetics at all. In short, if Ling is interested in something, he can just follow his words and casually agree with him so that he won't be exposed. Ika decided. Ling, who showed no interest at first, gradually started talking more. However, her words were always mixed with the names of Lugo and Wei 11. She seemed to want to express that she was just looking for souvenirs for those two people that they might be interested in. This kind of aggressive look is the Ling Ika is most familiar with. If it were possible for her to be candid, would she be a completely different person? Hey, to be honest, you must be thinking about something that can't make me happy right now, right? It was Ika's mistake to forget Ling's keen sixth sense. He looked away confusedly and caught a glimpse of something. Ling, come here. Don't change the subject. Hey. If his aesthetics reached the average level of men, he should be able to calm Ling's anger. Why are you walking away talking to yourself? Thank you. You can try this. After obtaining the store manager's consent, Ika placed a dark blue hair tie in the hands of Ling, who looked confused. I think it should suit you very well. Yeah. Ling doubtfully untied the simple hair tie she was wearing now, and then carefully tied the new hair tie Ika picked in front of the floor-length mirror in the store. After a while, Ling turned around hesitantly. So. The dark blue hairband is like a paradise butterfly, bringing out Ling's unique sense of vitality. Image. Hey, say something. It does suit you very well. Ika, who was fascinated by it, finally reacted. It seems that my first glance was quite accurate. Yes, yes. Ling showed an obvious shy expression, and her vision began to become erratic. She doesn't seem to be very good at handling honest compliments from others. Store manager, please help me pack this. Okay, thank you for your patronage. Do you want to buy it for me? Do you not like it? No, that's not what I mean. Of course I don't hate it. Ling said incoherently, you paid for it in advance at noon, and now I should be the one to pay it myself. As a man, I also have my own principles. Please take care of me here. You must be fooling me. Since Ika has already said this, if he persists, it will be a sign of ignorance. Ika took the exquisitely wrapped gift box from the store manager and handed it to Ling. Give. Thank you, thank you. Ling stretched out her hands to take the small gift box and stared at it carefully for a while, but why? What why? Why did you suddenly send me something? It must not just be because of the principle you just mentioned. That is because. Ling's intuition was really terrifying. Luoluo's instructions rang in her mind again. No matter what, she had to find an excuse to fool him. He was obviously preparing to think of an excuse temporarily, but before that, he had something he wanted to tell her more. Actually, this should be considered my thank you gift. Have I done anything to deserve your gratitude? She really didn't know. Ika continued to talk as he walked towards the outside of the store, and Ling quickly followed him. After leaving my hometown, the first friend I met was you. Although the first meeting was not very friendly. Didn't I already explain that it was a misunderstanding? The dark history was revealed again. Ling interrupted Ika's memories with a blushing face. Yes, yes, Ika casually dealt with the dissatisfied Ling. For me at that time, if I hadn't met you, I probably wouldn't have known what to do next. Both brother and sister are road crazy, This situation is inevitable. That's not what I meant when I said I don't know how to go. In short, Luoluo has become much more cheerful after you came. You would be a better choice for her than me. I don't like hearing this kind of talk. Ling quickened her pace and stood in front of Ika. If you think so, how can you be qualified to be Luoluo's support? At least I didn't say anything like this in front of Luoluo. Lolo is not as naive as you think. Do you really think that as long as you don't say anything, she won't see anything? Of course I know. I really don't understand you boys. You take everything as your own responsibility. Aren't you tired of living like this? I did say before that you should take responsibility for what you said and did, but I didn't do it to make you do it. Say such depressing words. What I want to see is the real you. Real me. If you don't even notice this kind of thing, it will be useless no matter how much I say. Ling turned around. I don't trust Luoluo to hand over to you now, so until you feel relieved, just stay with her. Huh? Ling turned around suddenly and blushed. Do you know what this sentence means? That's what it means. There's no other meaning, right? How many times have you seen Ling in such a panic today? How much Ling is there that I don't know about? Pedestrians passed by in twos and threes, and the surrounding shops had begun to close. What Ika initially thought would be a very long time came to an end. Don't let others have expectations of you, idiot. Ling closed her eyes tightly and shouted the sentence in the center of the street, then walked quickly towards the platform. Because of her making such a fuss, passers-by turned their attention to Ika, who was standing there, and there were whispers around them. They might have thought this was a daily quarrel between lovers. Couple. When Ika thought of this word, she finally understood why Ling was so angry. It's really troublesome. Ika scratched his head and quickly chased the figure in front of him with many eyes on him. Today's time flies so fast. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 51. Ling got up the next day and put on a brand new hair tie. It's a waste if you don't use it. Anyway, that's what she claimed. Luoluo and Wei 11 should have noticed the new hair tie, but they didn't mention it specifically. After coming back last night, the girls had already gossiped among themselves about the big and small things that happened throughout the day. Ika didn't pay any attention to whether the girls held secret gatherings, and included his words and deeds in the review and evaluation. In short, it would be great if everyone could stay in such harmony. Ika really hopes so. After breakfast, he told everyone that he was going to Professor Kokina's research laboratory today and left the administrator's cabin alone. Of course, Ika's destination was not the research laboratory he mentioned, but somewhere outside Shimizuki Academy. He stood at the door of Shimizuki Academy affiliated hospital again. The purpose of coming here alone today is to get the answers to the questions left last time. Ika knew very well that she had no reason to delve into the past of Senior Lilith. But at that moment, Senior Lilith's expression was like a thorn, piercing deeply into his heart. Even if you deliberately don't remember it, it won't help. During the hesitation, Ika was already standing in front of the ward without knowing it. Today was just like the last time I visited. It was as quiet as if this ward was separated from the outside world by a transparent wall. It turns out that staying here alone can feel so lonely. Giving up any unnecessary psychological resistance, Ika gently pushed open the door that separated the two spaces in front of her. Senior Sister Lilith was lying on the white hospital bed with her eyes closed. It seemed that she was still immersed in sleep. When Ika was about to turn around and close the door, she happened to meet the nurse who had just passed the door. She smiled and nodded slightly to Ika, then turned and left. When I came to visit the day before yesterday, it was this nurse who was in charge of reception. Maybe Tara had told her something when she left, otherwise it would have been impossible to allow Ika to visit so smoothly. After receiving the silent permission from the nurse, Ika gently closed the door with gratitude. Senior Lilith showed no sign of getting ready to wake up. It was obviously almost 9 o'clock. Does this young lady have the habit of staying in bed? It seems that I have discovered an unknown side of Senior Lilith. With some excitement, Ika sat down on the chair next to the bed. Senior Lilith suddenly turned towards Ika. Ika thought she had woken her up, but she still closed her eyes and breathed softly and steadily. Seeing the happy look on her face, Ika couldn't bear to wake her up like this. Then before she wakes up, sit here and rest for a while. I don't know if it was because the tension was relaxed, but Ika felt that her eyelids had become heavier. His groggy head suddenly felt the force of gravity, and he suddenly became sober. He quickly opened his eyes. A crisp laughter sounded from a very close distance. Senior Sister Lilith had already sat up from the hospital bed, looking at her embarrassed appearance with a smile. Sorry. Ika herself didn't know what she was apologizing for. Entering the ward without permission? Or do you just take a nap here? Doesn't this require apologizing twice? No need to apologize, you saw my sleeping face, and I saw your sleeping face, so it's fair. In that case, don't you need to apologize for entering the ward without permission? I really can't understand how girls behave. That. Senior Lilith seemed to want to say something, but couldn't find the right way to express it. Sorry, can you please go out for a moment? I'm very sorry. I didn't contact my senior before coming here, so I came in without permission. Why are you apologizing? Senior Sister Lilith tilted her head and thought for a moment, then immediately explained to Ika in a panic, I didn't mean to drive you out. It's just. She lifted up a strand of hair hanging down to the corner of her eyes with her hands. This small gesture hinted to Ika what she really wanted to express. After waiting on the bench outside the ward for dozens of minutes, Senior Sister Lilith opened the door for Ika. The fragrance of shampoo filled the room instead of the scent of purple orchids. The bed had been made during Ika's avoidance time, and the quilts were neatly folded and placed at the corner of the bed. Senior Lilith used the drinking water device in the room to pour a glass of water for herself and Ika. Thank you. Ika took the water glass with both hands. Senior Lilith, do you already know your discharge time? In this state. Senior Sister Lilith pretended to move her slender arms, and the sleeves slid down her raised arms, revealing her fair skin. There should be no problem, tomorrow it should be you can be discharged from the hospital. Very good. Didn't you come with them today? Well, I'm alone today. Ika didn't tell Senior Lilith that she came here without telling them. To be precise, she couldn't tell her. I thought you were always inseparable. I heard a lot of rumors about you from my friends. Are we that famous? Have you not noticed yet? Before entering school, he was wanted by the decree of the Bis Empire, and he was a transfer student recommended by the Holy See. Moreover, among them were nobles with surnames from the Bis Empire and knights of the Holy See. It would be too much if this did not attract attention. It's weird. I see. It turns out that there are so many people secretly observing everyone's every move from places they don't know. And, there are some rumors that I don't know if they are true. Senior Lilith looked away shyly, drawing circles on the sheets with her slender fingers. Do you live in the same room? How can it be? Ika almost spit out the water she just drank. Because there are various situations in the dormitory, we have to take this measure temporarily. We just live in the same house. I live in a room alone, Luoluo is also alone, and Ling and Wei 11 are 2 people. People together. It's definitely not what you imagined. I heard others say so. Senior Sister Lilith finally breathed a sigh of relief. If we live together, it's hard to avoid such rumors, but I believe you, Ika. Thanks. Have other students in the class heard this rumor? Obviously they have never mentioned it. By the way, the girls always have small gatherings, and the 3 of them attend them from time to time. Let's ask them when we go back. Besides, the purpose of coming here today is not to chat like this. Senior Lilith. After considering the words, Ika spoke cautiously. A step taken can no longer be taken back. At this moment, Ika decided to get closer to Senior Lilith.